bass and a pulsating rhythm are what Jamaicans commonly call Jonkunno. Here we see a lively display by Kingston's Southwest Jonkunno Band.
Why did you start?
Well, I was at St. Mary Gale, going to school, and a spirit was coming to me, and I sit down and we start dancing from Gale St. Mary 1936. And I sit down and we invent Peachy, Patchy, Devil, all different characters.
Sister Annie used to come and take me out on holidays. And any other days beside holidays, any special thing they have.
How old is the group?
20 years.
Are there any young ones being trained to become a part of the group after you older people would have left?
Yes, you have some little boys. You have some little boys.
Is there any special training that you have to go through?
You do have a special training.
About how long now you personally have been dancing?
A good length of it, from 1936 straight on, and I never. I leave St. Mary and come here 44 when Governor Foot did give out the competition prize. That time Mr. Ronnie was carrying me, and we test the night down on North Street. That time Montego be West Savlama come all about and come and test here.
It was a competition?
Yes, by Governor Foot.
Why did you start to dance?
It's a identification for the training on holidays time.
Is that all?
And he's the head of the country.
When you say head of the country, what do you mean?
Jamaica country tradition.
But it's more than that. Although the tradition of the Christmas Jonkunno parades have been continued by groups such as these, the members of the groups themselves do not have an understanding of the historical importance of the Jonkunno tradition. The Jonkunno masquerade is the earliest traditional dance form of African descent that can still be found in Jamaica.
It has influence of both European and African. The characters and the movements can be traced, some of them to the European and some to the African. It was one of the few forms of celebrations that the slaves were allowed to take part in, which was usually at Christmas time. It thrived very well on the estates because, you know, the estates used to have competitions among themselves.
As the plantations expanded, so too did the slave population. Highly organized rebellions, such as the 1831 Christmas Rebellion organized by Sam Sharp on the western end of the island, served as a warning to all plantation owners. After much hardship and struggle, emancipation was finally won in 1838. This and the immigration of Chinese and East Indians into the island served to influence the appearance of Jonkunno. As a result, the Chinaman figure has appeared on occasion in Jonkunno. Indians have also been seen as characters in Jonkunno bands in areas where they have settled. Numerous characters have evolved as members of the Jonkunno band: Belly Woman, Sailor, Cowboy, Madalundi, and others. Many of the original characters are no longer represented, but are remembered in the prints sketched by the 19th century historian Belisario. One of the characters captured by Belisario and that is no longer seen is Jack in the Green. He bore a very strong resemblance to a British May Day masquerader. The character was completely covered with coconut fronds, making it impossible to tell in which direction he was looking, a feature which has conjured up a Janus-like image.
Pitchy-patchy, one of the key things about the pitchy-patchy is that the pitchy-patchy was one of the more ritual of the characters, because, you know, it has a very closeness to the whole business of the sort of the vegetation and a very spiritual link. And maybe why we don't see it so much now is because of we are losing some of the ritual, the ritual part of the Jonkunno. I just don't know how they don't have a printer, but they were the earliest of the characters.
The Set Girls. Groups of girls dressed alike for the Christmas celebration at the end of the 18th century. The sets seem to have been introduced from the French islands. The French set girls wore particularly elegant costumes and they never danced in the streets, only in private homes. The house Jonkunno, which can still be seen today, was known as the buffoon of the set girl era. He evolved from the frightening horned Jonkunno of the 1770s, becoming so popular that even with the addition of several other characters, the name Jonkunno became synonymous with the overall masquerade. Cuckoo, or actor boy, was a remnant of the self-styled actor groups which formed part of the slave celebrations usually held over the Christmas holidays. Selections from Shakespeare in a very garbled version were performed. By the 1830s, these dramatic performers had died out, but they could still be seen parading through the streets of Kingston, exhibiting their costly attire, and passers-by were requested to vote for the best dressed.
They used to have all kind of acts and plays. You know, if you look at one of the historians, Belsario's notes, you'll see all of the different acts and plays that they used to have. Many of them very English, because you had quite a bit of the mummings traditions here. Although now we don't see too much of that. We have more of the African flavor, but historically we had quite a bit of the European in the early times.
Jonkunno characters are loved for their vibrant and varied costumes that were once very elaborate and rich in color. This small tailor shop on Spanish Town Road designs and sews costumes for Kingston's Southwest Jonkunno Band.
I made the Jonkunno clothes. I made the Satan. I made the Satan clothes. And cowboys and all that and so on. And many other little things in it. Now, generally, we use red for the cow. Right. And black for the Satan. Generally using for the Jonkunno sport, the Satan, you know. To make a real thing for him, that the Satan was a real pants and it made up with pockets, and after that, it dress up. And so forth. You have to put on little things on it and braids and all those things.
All Jonkunno dancers wear masks, which is made of a mesh.
We prefer to use a wire mask more on the paper. When it's first wire, the paper tear up and don't good. So we get the wire.
Which character wears that mask?
Any one of the dancers have to have a mask.
Pictures, we will see a lot of different masks. There were all different kinds of masks. There's masks for all sorts of things. And we haven't been doing so many of them now in the groups, but there were really quite a number of different kinds of masks.
Why do you use a wig?
The old one don't suit it, it break up quick. When we use this one, it's stronger and better.
What kind of process this has to go through for it?
Well, we carry it, we build it and carry it to the other head. We use it in the team, so.
What kind of curing it has to go through?
Have to put under the earth. When them bury it, it be there for years. And we go and find it and get up the two. Try the two of them together and take it out of the hole.
Okay. Can you just explain the headwear, the headgears, and these to me. Tell me about each of them.
Well, I build that out of a crown. This, I wouldn't carry the source of tired a piece of cloth and made. It need the crown, and I sit down and study it and use these glass on it.
That one is owned by who?
Wild Indian.
But tell me, why do you have an Indian?
Yes, we call it a Wild Indian too. We use Wild Indian, warrior, and a warrior. I just sit down and we plan it out. Sit down and we arrange and plan it out. This hand, we don't use the wood. We get the hand from slaughter yard, we buy them from and cure them for a good time and get out the meat out of them. And take a piece of wood now and build it inside here and get the hand over it and sprig it round.
Now we celebrate it, not so much in all the extravagant costumes, because of course we can't afford them now. And they don't have the very heavy, big sponsors like the Sugar Kings and so now. So quite a bit of it is left to the spirit of it, what they can find for costume, and of course the begging. You know, they play and dance for you and you give them a little money. At Christmas time, you drop something in the pan, and that is part of the whole business of the Christmas tradition of giving and sharing.
Jonkunno is the repository for almost every dance music form in Jamaica. A post-emancipation form of dance evolving from Mayal, a possession healing form, was closely linked to Jonkunno by the 18th century. In Brookins, another post-emancipation dance form, the relationship to the blue and red set girls, sketched by the 19th century historian Belisario, can clearly be recognized. Specific steps and styles employed in the Jonkunno are dictated by the part the character plays. Belly woman rolls an exaggerated pregnant-looking belly. Horsehead kicks and snaps his jaws and appears menacing. And Pitchy Patchy is everywhere, wheeling and turning. The musical instruments in the pre-emancipation period were largely African. The gumbe was commonly used, along with rattles, some stringed instruments, and cow horns.
Formerly, there was a sort of ritual attached to Jonkunno, so the drum then would bear a close resemblance to that of the gumbe, which had a spiritual significance. Now, today, the emphasis is more on the collecting of money, the whole sort of the Christmas spirit, the ritual is sort of left behind.
Today, most Jonkunno bands consist of a fife, a bass drum, a rattling drum, and a grater.
I've been with the bands for the past 10 years.
And how did you first get involved with the Jonkunno band, and why?
I really started practicing to play the five, and really one day I saw the bands going on the street, and I started to play a little of the five, and them say, well, you sound like they can use me, right? And them say, all right, if I decide my mind to play with them, I say, yes, I'll try.
So what do you get out of it?
Well, you know, jollification. I love the sports from when I was small. And I really grew up and learned to play the five and start to go about with it.
Now, this is just a traditional thing done at Christmas time.
Yeah.
So what do you do otherwise during the year?
Well, I'm a person who work very hard. I travel the farm working, and otherwise I'm a laborer. This five here now is really made up of plastic, but it is not the right thing to build it. But the bamboo is the right thing. I just made this out of the plastic, what we call a PVC pipe, right? So I decorate it up like this.
But traditionally, it should be bamboo.
Now, if you don't hear the bass, I generally play after the bass, right? And the rattling drum come in. Now the greater, that's where you get the music set together. All four of us come together, right? And let it sound like how you get it sound.
The drums, what are they made from?
From goat skin. Sometimes we use kegs, small, what we call small barrels. Or you can make it from pan if you want to.
The fife man is considered a key figure by all members of the band, as it is he who dictates the pace and change of the rhythms at any given time. The individual characters as well have various functions to perform: keeping order, collecting money, and generally providing enthusiasm among the spectators.
There are researchers who think that because it has lost the sort of ritual value to it, then some people are not so interested in it anymore. It was sponsored by the sugar estate. It has lost its sponsors, and it is a very expensive thing to costume. The mask, the props, and the clothes is very expensive, and you have to be able to afford it. And you'll find that in most of the areas where Jonkunno is really popular, there are poor areas. It has never really been a city thing, you know. And there are poor areas, and you would really have to be able to find sponsors in order to bring them back, in the true form. And I find because of the people not being able to afford the costumes and make them as attractive as it could be, it has sort of lost its color.
What do you suggest as a way to keep it going?
Well,
companies would have to come in.
Companies and people who are really interested in people who can fund these, like probably a business place within a community could fund, really help them to pay to buy the costumes, and don't regard it as a waste or as a Christmas gesture, but as a serious way of keeping our traditions alive.
I never change, so if I even walk with a stick unless I turn in village, that's I cannot dance. But I just like the thing. Just love it, it's a spirit.